How many people in the United States are racist? I want you to think about that question. I want you to answer that question in your head. How many people in the United States are racist? You might have a number. You might have a feeling. Your answer could be some, many, half, 0, 100%. Could be 1 million, 100 million. No matter who you are, there's an answer that comes to your mind when I ask that question. How many people are racist? You have an answer in your head. You have a feeling of an answer, at least. It's possible some of you have no answer whatsoever. Maybe you're completely agnostic. You have no idea. But based on what I've seen in the world from conversations with people, it seems that most people have an answer to this question in their head somewhere. And the answer might be impossible for you to articulate. It could just be a feeling or kind of a sense, but you still have an answer. And so here's the question that I'm going to follow this up with. How do you know? How do you know? If you know you have an answer, even if you just have a feeling of an answer, where does that come from? I want to examine this. I want to dive into a subject that you might call metacognition. You might call it epistemology. This is almost bordering on philosophy here. How do you know? How do you know what you know? When you think about this concept, the racism in the United States, the people who are racist, right? That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about human beings who are racist. I'm talking about you, listener. Your belief, your thought about when I ask the question, how many people are racist, something comes to your mind. Something. I want to examine that very carefully today. That's the plan. So, first of all, I guess the date. Today is Sunday, November 28th. I just had a Thanksgiving dinner with some very left-leaning people, and their opinion is that their answer to this question is many. There are many racist people in the United States, in the tens of millions. And I think a lot of people, that's the answer that comes to mind for most people. And so, again, I want to talk about this. Even if your answer is 1 million, even if your answer is 10 people, I want to talk about this. So, is this belief scientific? I think we should start with that. Can you answer this with science? Could a scientist figure out how many people in the United States are racist? Is that something a scientist could answer? We're not talking about one individual right now, we're talking about people. So you need a sociologist. You'd have to somehow study this on a broad scale. Maybe you could hand out a survey. But of course, on a survey, who's going to tell the truth about this? What are you going to do? Be like, hey, are you racist? Do you hate black people? Check yes or no. Like, you're not going to trust the answer to that question, right? You can't walk up to somebody and ask them, are you racist, and expect an honest answer, can you? So how do you study this scientifically? Can you study it scientifically? I, right now, make the claim that no. You cannot answer this question scientifically. When I ask the question, how many people in the United States are racist, there is no answer backed up by science. So, again, we're talking about metacognition here. How do you know? Where does your knowledge come from? Where? It's not scientific. It's not backed up by data. It can't be. It cannot be. It's backed up by something else. So what is it backed up by? Where does this belief in your head come from? It's a feeling. Really. It's a feeling. It's a hunch. It's sort of a subconscious, I mean, we've all run into people in our lives. We've all met racist people that we would call racist. We've seen racist people on the internet. We've seen, I believe that people are racist, right? And if you think that, see, again, it's hard for me to get in. If you think everybody's racist, then really, of course you've met a racist person. But if you think that there's a line that you can draw between racist and not racist people, odds are you believe that you're one of the not racist ones and that you've met one of the racist ones. Or you're listening to this video and you believe you're one of the racist ones, in which case you've still met racist people and not racist people. We've all walked around the universe, right? We've all been cognitive beings in the world, observing the animals around us, the other humans around us, and we've been making judgments about them. And so when I ask you the question, how many people are racist? Your belief comes from your experience. It's not coming from science. It's not coming from data you've seen. This is not a rational scientific observation. This is more of it's from experience. It's from your own human experience. And you're an animal. You walk around, you recognize patterns in the world. That's how you're built. And so you've recognized a pattern of behavior that you label racism, which is a real thing. There are real racist people. So the pattern you're recognizing is real. But when I ask you the question, how many people in the United States are racist? How can you possibly know the answer to that question? Have you met all of the people in the United States? Have the people you've met been a representative sample of the people in the United States? How many of us have met a representative sample of the people in the United States? There's 350 million people, right? If you're looking at science and statistics, what sample size would you have to gather in order to have a proper statistical representation of the United States? And can a single human being possibly meet and have a one-to-one interaction long enough to determine if they're racist, first of all, with enough people that they could possibly achieve a rational, scientifically rational understanding of how many people in the United States are racist? None of us can do that. None of us. When none of us have this ability. So what I'm saying here is that not a single person alive today can answer the question, how many people in the United States are racist, truthfully. None of us can answer this truthfully. None of us. I don't know if I made that clear in 7 minutes. I don't know, in just about 8 minutes. This is a metacognitive question. It's an epistemology question. How do you know what you know? Because when you ask people how many people in the US are racist, you'll get some very confident answers. Very confident. And that confidence is based off of a feeling. Really, truly. It's based off of a irrational judgment. It's not rational. It is irrational. You cannot possibly have come to a rational judgment on this question. A rational answer. It's not possible for you to have done this. It's not. It has not been answered scientifically. Since it's not answered scientifically, it's answered not scientifically, just by definition, right? And so maybe you're thinking that, this doesn't need to be answered scientifically. Maybe you're thinking your judgment is good enough. But I don't believe you. I don't believe you because I don't even believe me. I don't have a good enough judgment on it. So how can you have a good enough judgment on it? And, well, maybe that's all I wanted to say right now. It's funny here, just to go to part 2, starting now. Just to go to the next step of the thought process here. Think about people who are racist. If you were to ask them something about, let's think about the classic white supremacist. Let's think about a white guy or a woman, a white person who has a belief about black people, right? So you're going to ask them, why do you think white people are better than black people? Or something like that, right? You ask them this question. Are they going to answer it scientifically? Are they going to bring up data? Or are they going to answer it with a feeling, with like a judgment? They've met some number of white and black people in their life, and they've formed a judgment about the white and black people, right? Or they've just believed a narrative that's been taught to them as they grew up. But either way, their answer to the question is not based on science, it's based on something else. So again, by definition, it's a non-scientific belief. It's irrational. It's not rational, it is irrational. So, their belief, which you would call a racist belief, is not rational. But it's equally as irrational as your belief about the people who you would call racist. And this is something I think this is something that we need to understand. I just think that this is people are talking about racism constantly. I see it everywhere. People are constantly talking about racism. And the problem is that it's immeasurable, right? You can't measure it. It's not scientifically measurable. You cannot measure how many people are racist. You cannot do it. And so, I mean, I'm not saying that doesn't mean you can't talk about it, but the problem is that it's since it's not measurable, it's also unfalsifiable. When somebody says, I think half the US is racist. When somebody says, I think there's 50 million people in the country that are racist. You cannot falsify that belief. There's nothing I can say, there's no evidence I can provide you that can prove whether you're right or wrong. You're basing your belief off something, for sure. I'm not saying that you're a moron, I'm not calling you an idiot. You could be exactly correct, technically. Like, you could be. Like, maybe if it was in a magical world, if I had a machine, if I had a box where I could put somebody inside of it, and then it would light up green if they were racist and red if they weren't, and I did this to every person in the country, there would be a number, right? It would be between 0 and 350 million, theoretically. And maybe your judgment, maybe your answer to the question would be spot on. It would be perfect. But none of us can know that. None of us. And then if your definition, if you think it's a 0 or 100, like if you think it's like at one end or the other, then really what does the question mean? When I ask, is everybody racist, why is it even a useful concept if it doesn't draw a distinction between two groups of people? If you think everyone's racist or nobody's racist, then the term racist doesn't provide you with any distinction between groups. It's not useful, right? So if your term racist, a person is racist, is a meaningful distinction between groups of people, then there is a real number that you could somehow determine in some magical way, right? But that the problem is it's magical. There is no real way to determine it. You can't do a survey. That's not going to work. We don't have brain scans that can tell if somebody's racist. I mean, maybe you can strap somebody's head down and put a camera on their eyes and show them pictures of white people, black people, and look at their blood pressure level and determine how their retina or their maybe there's a way to scientifically determine if somebody's racist, but nobody has done this. There's never been a scientific study that's measured this at a statistically significant scale. So the answer to the question, no matter what it is not scientific. And that's what I'm saying. So when we go around trying to make policies, like government policies, or when we're trying to have conversations about this, in any sort of practical manner, we need to understand that none of us are telling the truth about it necessarily, or if somebody might be, but none of us can tell which one of us is telling the truth. The answer could be half, or it could be 1 million, and none of us can prove it one way or the other. We just use feelings, and then we use anecdotal evidence. We go, oh yeah, look at this one video of this one white guy. And we don't have videos of all the white guys all the time. So again, there's no way to be sure how many white guys are racist, right? That it can't be answered. And I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is that I'm just, part of the reason I made this video is because, again, I said I had a Thanksgiving dinner, and what do you do at Thanksgiving other than discuss very tense political issues? And, I had a conversation with a very left-leaning aunt of mine, and she believes that, she didn't give me an exact number, but she is under the impression that there are at least tens of millions of racist people, you know? And it comes back to this like subconscious racism. A lot of people are like secretly racist. A lot of people, you know, not everybody's overtly racist. A lot of people are either secretly racist, like consciously secretly racist, or they're subconsciously racist and they don't even know it. And again, how do you measure this? Like on a sociological scale, it's actually immeasurable. And since it's immeasurable, it's unfalsifiable. And so when she says, if somebody says, I think every Trump voter is racist, I can't falsify that claim. There's zero things I can do to prove that claim right or wrong. Anyway, if something's unfalsifiable, it's not scientific. So should you really believe in it rationally? I mean, that's a whole nother question. There's a lot of beliefs we have that are irrational, but that doesn't make them wrong necessarily. Okay, I'm done. Well, I'm not done yet. I want to show you my cat. He's been walking around with me this whole time. If you got this far in and you're still listening, then here's Dusty. This is my cat. He walks around while I talk about things. How you doing, buddy? Say hi to the camera. Okay, bye.